Hello, I'm Rick Bayshard, and thank you again for visiting my channel. Today I wanted to discuss a little bit more about how this world and what occurs in this world is ultimately always a defense against the truth. We want to remind ourselves that one of the reasons the world was made by the ego was indeed to keep us or provide a way of us not to look. And when we made it the world and we can't come into it as bodies, seemingly through parents, which is not who we are. I mean, but we're unaware of the metaphysics, so we think our parents made us, never realizing that we've written this whole script, including the parents that we had. I mean, there's an old saying that we don't come from our parents, we come through them. But besides that, the reason these defenses are made by the ego, the world being the large one, but all the specific ones within this world we experience as bodies, are all providing the same purpose from an ego perspective. The Course reminds us that sickness, for example, as a body, is a defense against the truth. And everything the ego has made, including sickness, including this veil of forgetfulness, this repression, this denial at the mind level, where we don't even want to look at the fact that we are a mind, is purposeful. It's something we're choosing not to look. It's a decision our ego mind is, our decision maker is making in order to defend against the truth that the atonement principle, which says the separation never happened, it stays away from us. And that is in part due to the fact that we still identify with the ego thought system and like being separate. But again, at this level as bodies, most of us are completely unaware of that. And so we don't know that when we get struck by cancer, that on one level, that is a defense against the truth, but it's happened in a couple of layered ways at the mind level. And because ultimately we can't be harmed, we're not bodies. But that said, anything that the ego perceives that can be a threat to its existence it's going to use a defense as a way for us not to look. Even the Course in Miracles in itself is a threat to the ego because it brings forth some teachings that will resonate within us. So on one level, we will find reasons not to like A Course in Miracles. We might say, oh, I don't like its Christian terminology. I don't like its iambic pentameter. I don't like the teachers of it, Never realizing that on one level, we're looking around for reasons not to like it because we are afraid of what it's really telling us. And so, that's true with sickness as well. We made up this world and things seem to impinge upon us. Again, it keeps us distracted, but it's also a way for us to feel like victims and to defend against the truth of who we are. So the ego has this very thought out strategy for us not to look. And the Course reminds us again that, the ego is foolproof, but it's not God-proof. So what kind of happens as a way, because God doesn't come in and wake us up, that's something we're going to have to do. But the way of doing it our way, okay, to stay stuck, to identify with the ego ultimately doesn't work. And this world is really painful and challenging. And so these challenges will ultimately motivate us in a way to look. And what we want to do, and the Course helps us with this, is to understand this is the ego's strategy. The whole world is a defense. And if we begin to get that, what will happen is that when sickness happens, or when we have difficult relationships, or when I find myself finding fault or saying, oh, I don't like this, I've fabricated these from an ego dynamic as a way to justify my keeping my distance from the truth. And if we get that, what will happen is the next time we get upset, the next time we try to use our defenses, we're going to be at least intellectually realizing that's what we're doing. And it's that, chip away at what's happening, our awareness of what's happening, that we'll begin to do that less and less, because we won't have a need for these defense mechanisms, because we'll realize what they are from an ego perspective. And so what will happen is we'll go through life, and it's a process whereby we'll see all the defenses we have, whatever they might look like, and we won't necessarily get caught up in them. And what we want to do is, as we do that, is to kind of like, don't take the ego too seriously. Just look at what the ego is trying to do to keep us stuck. And forgive ourselves when we have these defenses. This is really always all about being aware of what's happening on two levels: the earthly level, where we seem we are, and at the mind level, where our decision maker has identified with the ego's thought system. So as we chip away at it, we'll slowly step away from identification with the body and begin to grasp the fact that, I'm a mind. And that particular method that gets us back to the mind, where we're a decision maker, is where we really will be able to make a different choice. Everything we do here is just a reflection of what the mind is choosing. So we want to begin our identification less with the body and this world as our home, and get back to the mind where we can choose differently. And again, the way to do that is to realize the world does not serve us, that it's an ego strategy, a defense against the truth. Because the minute we choose the truth, the ego, the idea of the ego, will no longer exist. The only reason the ego exists as a thought system is our mind's identification with it. And so, just like everything else, if we believe it, it becomes true for us. We want to take away our belief and our identification with the ego, and realize that everything we do here in this world is a defense. And everything that seems to happen to us outside of our will, cancer, difficult relationships, you get fired, whatever it might be, these are all things that we think take away our peace and stuff, but it prevents us from not looking, and it's all a defense. But again, the good news in this is, if we begin to see what's happening, we won't get caught up in it. And again, that is a process in our lives here in this world. And we want to be gentle with ourselves. We want to smile gently at the ego's craziness, and be with that process. And that, I think, is an important thing to always remind ourselves, how this world is a defense. And again, it's a little challenging, because we are so embedded in thinking this is who we are. And again, it's not about not denying the human experience. It's about being with the human experience and all the difficulties that come with identifying as a human with an ego thought system that we think will save us from the truth. Because again, the truth scares us, because part of us likes being this. So in our journey back, just pay attention. Look at what's happening to us, and look how, in the end, it's something that we set up as a decision-making mind, identifying with the ego as a way not to look. And forgive ourselves for that, because in the end, no harm has been done. Ultimately, if we were going to be true in metaphysics, there is no ego, but we won't go there just now, because we do think there's an ego. But we can have a little bit of peace beginning to grasp, excuse me, what the ego has made as a way for us not to look. And we can turn it around by simply smiling gently at all the stuff that we do, or that things that seem to happen to us. And that, in a way, is what peace will be like for us in this world, because we won't have the angst of trying to manage it all. We'll just be with it and smile gently at it, and realize it has no power. Only power it would have is the power we might give it. And so I wanted to just discuss that little detail today, because I think it's important to constantly remind ourselves how this world seems to affect us, and how we seem to blame the world for all of our happiness or lack of happiness. And in the end, the world has no ability to do any of that. Peace always comes from recognizing who we are. So thank you for visiting my channel today. If you found this helpful, please hit a like. Please feel free to subscribe, and I look forward to doing another video for you as soon as possible. Thank you.